Hi there, if you're interested in how to set up your first planted aquarium like this one, watch this video. Enjoy. Hello, Johnny Scaper here, and welcome to this video, which is all about how to create your first planted aquarium. This one I only filled up yesterday, so it's only been going a couple of days. And the purpose of this video is to show how to aquascape a tank. If you would like a video with more information on the equipment used, lighting, filter, etc., just let us know in the comments below if that's something you would like to see. But on the purpose of this video, it's all about the aquascape. I will cover what type of tank it is. Basically, these tanks are really popular within the hobby. Low iron glass, which has a really good level of clarity. This is a really popular size within the hobby, so it's 60 centimeters long. It is 36 centimeters high. Front and back, it is 30 centimeters. So it's a really good size to start with. The reason I like this size is because it's a good enough size to create something nice, but it's also a good size for a budget if you want to rescape, or in the initial stage you don't need loads and loads of plants and loads of hardscape like if you had a bigger tank. So first up, substrate. The substrate is the base layer. So in here we've got a mix of decorative sand and we've got soil. For this particular scape, I had some soil left over from a tank I've just stripped. So the soil wasn't that old, because it's full of beneficial bacteria. I decided to use that as a base layer in this aquarium. It was topped off with a new bag of soil, and it's worthwhile buying a good quality aquarium soil. So you can skip the base layer part, you don't have to do the base layer, but if you've got an aquarium already set up with some soil that's not too old, it's worth putting on there. Again, just for your beneficial bacteria, it's going to be beneficial. The water column is going to be beneficial to your plants, so that's why I've used it in this case. But you don't have to, you can just start with fresh soil. So the soil was used where I was actually going to plant. A lot of this scape is what you call epiphyte, so plants are attached to wood and stone. So I didn't need a huge planted area, so hence that's where the soil went in. So we've got our aquarium soil in place. Next up, we're going to choose the hardscape. So in this case, I used a large piece of wood, and my advice is to go quite large. This was actually taken out with another scape again, and this is Talawa wood, and it was too big for the tank. So you can just break off bits, saw bits off if you need to. But a good little tip there as well, once you do snap it, try not to have clean cuts. If you snap it and rough it up a bit with a pair of pliers, or something like that, it actually roughs up and it looks a bit more natural instead of having nice clean cuts. I actually made it fit, I knew what I wanted in my head, so I was going to create a triangular composition. See, you've got the triangular composition with the wood, and it kind of fans out, so that's the look I was looking for. If you make little tweaks here and there, eventually you'll get it to where it just clicks and it looks nice for yourself. That's what's most important, as long as it looks pleasing to the eye, to you and your family, etc. So in here I also added a smaller piece of wood just to finish it off, because I thought there was a bit of a gap there, so I added that piece of wood to get that triangular fan effect coming down onto the sand. If you haven't got all the equipment in one go, it's worthwhile just having hardscape. So if you've got your materials like your wood, your stone, your soil, your decorative sand, etc., you can actually just scape it and leave it till you're ready to plant or be ready to afford your plants. So don't rush it, actually take your time with it, and you can mess on with it for weeks, months if you want to do. So you can chop and change your actual composition till you're 100% happy with it and you're ready to plant. So don't feel you have to get everything at once and rush this process. Enjoy the hardscaping period. I love it, mate, to be honest. It's just really nice to hardscape, using materials, creating something from scratch. It's just a really good feeling. But place your biggest stones and create that barrier between the soil and your decorative sand. You can use smaller pieces of stone to wedge them gaps. If you're not confident about wedging the gaps with stone, you're worried the soil's going to spill through onto the sand, there is a little thing you can do. You can use like a filter floss, or I use like stuffing out of a pillow or teddy bears, that sort of thing. If you use that, you can just squeeze that in the gaps, and that's going to prevent the soil spilling over. So that's a little tip for you if you want to do that. But in this case, I just use the stones to wedge any gaps, any spaces where I think the soil could spill through. So there's a lot of smaller stones in here, again, to get that composition, the triangular coming down. So it's time to add the decorative stand, and this way it really brightens things up. And don't want your sand substrate too thick. The reason being, there's no actual circulation underneath that, and it compacts, creates an anaerobic environment which can leach into the water column, cause problems, even killing your fish. So don't have the sand too thick. Another reason for that as well, it's easy to take out and replace if you want to freshen up your sand. So just nice thin layer of sand. This one's gradually building up again to complement that triangular composition. One other thing with the hardscape, although it's a large piece of wood, I have left enough space, so always do a little check with your hand to make sure I can get in, which makes maintenance easier. So there's no wood touching the front or the side of the glass. Now it's time for planting. So this one here, I knew what plants I was going to use, and all the plants in this scape are from another scape which I stripped, so I was lucky enough to have all the plants ready. But as I was saying earlier, it's best to set yourself a budget and save up for the plants, save up for those plants, or get those plants all at once so you can plant nice and heavy from the off. So your hardscape could have been standing for months, and although that's frustrating and you get impatient, you really want to plant it, it is a good thing to do. This one is intentionally going to be low energy, no CO2 injection. So low energy comes in because it's not really high levels of lighting, and I'm not using CO2 injection. So these plants can all cope without CO2 injection. I'll leave details of all the plants in the description, so if you're interested in those, I'll leave a link where you can actually purchase them as well. First up, before you plant, what you want to do is give everything a right good soak. You're best off using a mister to mist all the plants on the hardscape and stuff, just so you don't have too much power on a hose or whatever and blow everything all over the shop. So once everything's wet, especially the soil, it makes things easier to plant. Also for planting, you're best off using some tools, so some good pincets or tweezers, a set of scissors to cut the roots and things, and also a soil spade. That's the main tools I would recommend. A soil spade just helps smooth everything out as you go, and tweezers are pretty much essential because it's really hard to plant with your fingers. A lot of these plants in here, you've got different varieties called the Manubius, and you've got the Busseldandra species, which attach to wood and stone. These are actually just squeezed into little crevices and gaps, and I haven't actually used any glue or anything in here, but you can use a glue, such as SEACHEM flourish glue. Just use a small amount. You can actually use that glue to attach your plants to the wooden rock if there's no gaps for them. But in this case, I didn't have to. If you plant nice and heavy from the start, there's two good things you can get from that. Actually get instant impact, but another thing as well is there's more plants to take up excess nutrients, because if there's nutrients floating around the water column, that's ideal conditions for algae to kick in, and you do want algae. We've got the planting complete. As you go, it's important you keep everything misted, keep everything damp, don't let anything dry out. I've got a little tip for you here. If it's been a long day, you've just finished your hardscape, you've finished your planting, and you can't be bothered to set the equipment up, get it going, what I do regular, and you can do this, not a problem, is give everything a right good spray down, mist it, and cover the top tightly with cling film. You can do that for a couple of days till you're ready to actually set it up. It's a good thing to do. I do it, I don't know, it's just lazy, or sometimes you just, end of the day, by the time you've tidied up, you really don't want to be messing with setting your filter up and things like that. Put that cling film on top and your plants will be fine. It just creates like a sort of a greenhouse effect, and everything's kept nice and moist till you're ready to go. And next day, come, take the cling film off, slowly fill your tank. That's important. Make sure you fill it nice and slowly, because you don't want everything blasting all over. So fill it nice and slowly. I use a good trick using a colander, which I got off fellow aquascaper George Farmer. He uses a colander. It's a really good idea to slowly fill your tank without water going everywhere. So just trickle it into the colander, and that'll trickle in the water and slowly fill it. So you're not getting any cloudiness and you're not disturbing the plants you've just planted in the soil. You don't want everything floating up, it's just annoying. So just take your time with that part. Once you fill the tank with water, Even though there's no livestock in there, I always still add a water conditioner prime. Depending on your water, there could be harmful metals, etc. in your water, which may affect the plants. So it's best to condition the water using a prime. I'm not going to delve into maintenance on this video, but if it's maintenance, you want to see how I maintain this tank, especially in the early stages, again, comments below if it's something you'd like to see, how I'm going to maintain this tank. And obviously I'll give you updates as the weeks go on how the tank is actually doing. One thing I will say, it's important when you first set up, try and change 50% of the water daily for the first couple of weeks. It really does help. Quick recap on what we've done. We had the tank nice and clean, ready to go. We added the substrate. So we had the base layer, the fresh aqua soil on top, and then we placed the wood, we placed the stone, and then we added the decorative sand. Once we're happy with that, we added the plants, and then once all planted, you're happy with everything, slowly fill the tank, set the equipment away. That's it for this video. I don't want to cover too much, make it overcomplicated. I really do hope this video has helped in some way, and if it has done and you've enjoyed the video, please give it a big like. And also, I've noticed there's only about 17% of my viewers who are actually subscribers. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe, and it really does help me. So that's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.